Okay, so I'm just going to show you how we sort out the installs and the updates. The first thing is you need to get the Google Drive share folder that you've created. This is my share folder for Google Drive. And then the folder that we're going to need is this one here that says for VPS server. Inside this folder you'll see all the files, and the best is to make the folders that you need on your computer be local. The installs are under Inno, files and install exes are sitting there, and the updates are sitting, or the live versions are sitting here under Save as Server. So this is a replication of the live version. It's mainly this folder and that folder that are important, and then this is the actual application to run these files over here. Okay, so what we need to do is there's a folder under the Google Drive called for the VPS server, and this folder needs to become your E drive because all the file formats within these updates and installs are all sitting under the E drive. So the first thing to do is to go to your start menu and type CMD and then just run the command prompt, and then we're going to use a command called substitute. And if you want to read what the command options are, just put the question mark there, and what you need to do is say substitute E drive for open bracket and then that path over there. And the reason why you need the bracket is because of the space over here, the for VPS. You push OK and it says that it's done it. Now if you just type substitute on its own, you'll see it's been substituted for that path. And if you come back here, you'll see there's the E drive. So now if you go to E drive, there you can see all the files that we need. And everybody needs the same path so that you can have the right configurations. Just to give you an example, if I go into this one, which is the Inno files and the EXEs, and I go to Sabre Retail, which is our install, and I look at this bottom one over here, that is the latest one. And if I open this, it is associated with Inno, which is sitting here under the E drive. If I go back to the beginning of the E drive, this is the actual program called Inno. So what my suggestion is, what you're going to have to do, which mine has already done, you'll go in here where it says the install files, find any of these files which ends with ISS, which is the program that creates our installs, and then you have to go right click and say open with, and then you have to choose the program, and it's none of these. If you don't see it here, if you see it here, there it is there, but if you don't see it here, you'll have to point to it. And the easiest way to point to it is to say look for another application on the computer, and you don't have to install the program, you just have to go to it. So you go to the E drive and you go to Inno and you look for the program, which is this one over here, compile32.exe, and you say use that as your executable. So now when you double click on this and close this, now it's no longer needed. When you double click on this, it'll open up the last install, which is dated the 11th of the 1st 2022. So it's time to do an update. And basically if you follow the code here as to what's happening, you'll see that we're copying all the folders across with all the files on each folder, and we're creating an install with different groups, and you'll see the only ones that are active are these ones. So it's only when we want to update, if there's any new files that we need to compile, we would then do any changes. But generally all you have to do is make sure, if we go back here to the root and you go to the live versions and then you go to Save as Server, and these folders here, okay, excluding these two are actually for the updates, okay, but these folders here, including the bin folder especially, you need the latest payroll exe in here and all the script files and everything else, and the latest database over here, which is this one over here, which is our starting database. So everything needs to be in there, and you'll see it's all pointing to those folders over here. And then all we need to do to compile the latest version is to click the run button, and that will compile everything that we need to compile. That'll create the install file, and you'll see the install file output is sitting in inner files and Sabre Retail. So it will be over here. Let's just go and find it. So we go to install files and Sabre Retail, and the install file will be sitting here once it's complete. So what I normally do is I change this to 0111. So when it compiles that, it'll put it in here as Sabre-Retail, because there's the output file name over there. Yeah, the first thing is you change your Sabre Retail exe to the previous date. So for example, 11th of the 1st, 2022. You change that as your backup, keep at least 2 or 3 backups. And then you copy this to today's date, like I have over here. Then you run this and it'll open up this window here. And that's about all you have to do. So long as all your files have been updated in your live folders, your bin and your and then you start the run over here, your bin folders and all your other live folder directories. So long as they're all up to date, everything will automatically update, because as you see, if you look down here on the scripts, you'll see that it's star.star, so it just takes all the files that are in all those folders and compiles them into the exe. So there's not much to be done here, not like the update files where you have to add files. You don't have to add anything, that's all done already. You just need to compile the latest run or the latest install, and it will generate the install into this folder, and it will be called Sabre Retail, which you'll then move across as a copy to your file path, which I will give you in the description below, because I'm going to have to look for it just now. In fact, I can tell you where that file must be moved to. Once this is completed, I will move it across. I just want to run, when it's finished doing the compile, it will automatically run the exe, and I just want to see that the path and everything else is correct. Okay, so there you can see it started generating the exe. Okay, so the exe is just completed. Now what it's going to do is try and run the exe automatically. So we'll wait for it to try and run it. Setup started. So yes, I'm not going to run it because by running it, it'll clear all my data in my folder. You can run it if you wish as a test. Ideally run it on a virtual machine just so that it's separate from your main test machine. It all looks good. Okay, so I'm just going to cancel that. And that's the end of it. Yeah, so you can copy this across. I'll show you where to copy it to. This is to put it live. I've done a right click, it's just a bit slow. Close this. So you copy that, and the folder where it should go would be under the license. It's actually under the G drive, other computers, VPS1 server, and then under SuperLick, bin, SuperLick websites, and the products of the downloads. And this is where it should be residing. Replace the one that's there, and then once it's uploaded by Google, it will be available for download. Upload is now queued, and now it should be uploading it. And once it's uploaded it, it then needs a chance to replace the one on the server, which it will automatically do. And so if you give it the same amount of time it gives it now, it will have uploaded to the server, and then you can go to the website and download it from the shortcuts. And that's it. Okay, so I've just changed the paths. I'll just run here, or do an explore. For the update program, I've made it that everything works to the G drive because that's what it wants. And basically, if you look here under the VPS server, you'll see that under the live version and save a server, I've made one that says save a server -G drive. That's the one I recommend you use, and you just map your Google Drive to G. You can still use E for the other one, but maybe we just use G for everything. I'll fix it so that everything works with G drive, so that it's all live folders and we don't have to worry about substitute folders and things like that because it doesn't seem to work. So it's not crucial. We can still map or substitute the drive letters just to get quickly to where we want to add the update files, for example. But we have to do all the mapping and everything on here to the G drive because that's what works. That's the bottom line. And it's busy doing an update at the moment, and it'll take a while, but yeah, it's working. You can see it's busy building. Please wait. I'll just tell it to wait, and it's a matter of some patience. Okay, so getting back to this, The best way to test that you're on the latest version and that the latest version is working, especially when I want to do an install, is on the server under the let's go back here again, under the live version source code, the source exes. You need to go to the bin and make sure that well, first of all on your side, under the normal saver path, make sure you've got the latest exe. Make sure you've also got the database that comes from the server, which is here under data. Just look for the database. That's a startup database. And then more than that as well, make sure that you've got the config which is used in the install, which is on the server, and replace that under the bin folder on your PC as well. And then you can run Sabre out of here, and just make sure that it's on the latest version and that all your SQLs are up to date and everything else. So once that's all up to date, you should come up with the login screen. Obviously, to bypass that, you can go to the config and just edit the config INI, or use another one that you've saved. And we need to change the demo to 0. Let me just find it quickly. Easiest way is to go here and say find demo and change it from 30 days to 0. And now when you run payroll, you can check that everything's working perfectly, and you can log on with the admin, and obviously check the version database number and that there's no errors on the database. Once you've got that all working, okay, I do see a bit of a problem there because it should show the company name and that information, which is obviously not right, but we'll have a look at that. Anyway, so once you've done that, you need to take the payroll exe and replace it on the bin side of the server, and you need to make sure that all the SQLs are up to date. So if I go down to my SQLs, it's my scripts, and go here, data, scripts, and you can see there I've gone up to 1001. So you just take all the rest of them and copy them across.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. That's what they talk about. But I should have put the event. What should I have done here? Sorry, I was trying to see what should I have done.
Okay. And any other files that might have changed as well, you need to know what they are to be able to update them. So anyway, from here, if we now run the Sabre Server G drive, because that's where we want to run from to do the updates. And now we need to add the files. Okay, it's not working here, so let's just do it from here. Let's go to G drive. And for VPS server and 5 versions. Let's try it here. Okay, so there we've got all the files. Now we need to make sure that all the scripts are up to date over here. So let's just go to the data scripts folder. Okay, so we need to get up to 1031. So if you have a look here, you should see we're only on 1001.001. The bottom there, 1001. So we need to add the rest of them. So the way you do that, you go to the top here and you right click on there and you say add files, and then you go to, this is all on the server, on the G drive, so the server, and go to data scripts, And we'll go at the bottom, choose everything up to 31 and down to 102. And so open. Okay, you don't need to change the payroll exe, it will automatically take the new one as the main one. What I would suggest though is just make sure that it is the latest version that's sitting in that folder, because sometimes when you copy it across it puts an _1 instead of the original name. Let this just finish. It takes a while to add all the files. Okay, so once that's added, like I said, I just want to double check that the ePayroll exe is correct. So I'll just minimize it for now, and we'll go back to the bin folder and look for the payroll exe, and it looks right, 11th of the 7th. And if you go to properties, so you should see the version number over here as well. And if you want to double check it, just go here and do the same on this side on your live version that you played with to test. 11th of the 7th, 10:00. So we've got the time and the date, you can see it's the correct version. If we just do properties there, and you see it's the same version, so it's right. Okay, so now we just want to compile. Remembering that the important things here is to change the update information. So it's 1031, and we'll put today's date, which is the 11th of the 7th, and the version of Sabre itself is going to be easiest to go and run it and see what it is. 7.367. 7.367. Right, so that's that, and then the paths should all be correct, and you just say bold. And this will take a little while. And if you want to watch it building, easiest place to see that is to follow this path. You could have copied the path, which makes it a bit easier. And some of the other computers, it's on the G drive, other computer, UPS1, installs, public, bin, click key, and then websites, and then save updates. What it should have done is cleared all these files and deleted them, and then recreated them from scratch. You can see it's busy doing it now. It's deleting all the files and then regenerating them. And of course, as it does all of this, Google Drive will be uploading and updating all the files back to the server. So it's quite a process, but it takes time, but it works. And then that'll be synchronizing all of it back to the server so that it can be live. And the beauty of doing it this way is that you're running it all local to your computer, so it's a lot quicker than trying to do it on the server remotely and reviewing into the server. So you do understand that I'm actually pausing this so that I'm not recording all the time it takes, because it does take quite a long time. So just to speed the process up for the video, I'm pausing it.
So is it doing anything?
So it's still busy, but it's getting closer to the end now.
Just need to speak to Tyler about.
Okay, so now it's at the end, so you'll see what happens. Okay, so the build is complete and done. It's obviously now still updating the rest of the files to Google Drive. So once, there we go, so everything is now up to date there. And now you have to wait a little bit longer for it to update to the server, or the server to update and change the files. But the best way to test this, to see that it's working, is we're now back on my local drive. And if we delete anything, so let's just say payroll exe, I'm not going to delete it, I'm just going to rename it to 01. And if I do an update, it should try and replace that file that's been changed. So any file that's changed in your application, if you run update, it should automatically update that file or replace that file. So I'm just going to run a process here and see what it does. It might update the updater because it hasn't been updated for quite a while. Okay, and then the next thing is to check that that information is correct. So if you just see this information is correct, you should know that it's up to date. And let's just say next. And so these are the files that have changed. And as you can see, the payroll exe has been restored because it was deleted. And I don't know where the 906 got to, but obviously I was missing that file. The other thing we can do is have a look at these and just make sure that these are all in the install. The key is to actually test both the install and the update and make sure that the install has all the files that are in the update, because you don't want, after you've done an install, if you do an update, you shouldn't have anything to update because it should be the same. But that's best to run on a virtual machine. So this is running on a batch file after doing an update, and it basically just runs the rights process to give rights to all the folders and files. So you'll see that quite often. It's doing it twice, but I can remove it so it only does it once. Anyway, and then you can see the report of what's been successfully updated. So just run payroll now, it should all be good. Okay, so the update is up to date, and the install won't be up to date at this stage. So I'll go back to the install just now.